Well, it's a lot of work, but she's just worth it. It's like a child almost. You wouldn't deny a child anything. And she's such a good friend, and she's such a good companion. I don't know what it would be like to come home to an empty house. It's nice to have the animal to come home to.
Birds offer a different kind of companionship because they speak to me. So Luann, I love you.
These ferrets really make me feel better when I feel stressed out.
There was a cat in the crib when my mother and father brought me home from the hospital. My children had our Blue Point Siamese cat in the crib. They've been a part of my life, all of my life. They've enhanced my life, and I've enhanced their lives.
These just kind of came into my life, and that's the way it is. I think animals find you, you don't find them.
That's the thing about puppies. I mean, there's not like people. They're not gonna rip you off, steal your boyfriend or girlfriend.
My fish just bring me to another place. It's like a whole other world in that aquarium. The colors and the movement. Just imagining what they must feel relaxes me.
I've always loved horses from a little girl. They're incredibly energetic and forgiving animals. They keep me grounded and in touch with nature.
If you have a pet, you're a lucky person. And if you give all the joy and love that you can to your pet, you're a special person. There's a way that pets help keep us humble and humane, and it touches both the masculine and the feminine within our nature. I don't know if you have a parakeet or a cockatoo or a cockatiel or a dog or a cat or fish or horse, whatever you have. It can be healthier, it can live longer. I'm Gary Knoll. I'd like to welcome you to a very special presentation on natural pet health. It'll be a fun journey. And the payoff at the end is that you might have a dog with you twice as long, or a cat, as you otherwise would have, without having to pay enormous vet bills. And even the question and controversy around vaccines, should you automatically vaccine for whatever the vet says? Maybe not. We'll explore that as well. Join me now.
Have you been told that your animal has to be put to sleep because there's no hope, there's nothing more that science, that medicine can do for them? What I want you to know is that there is hope. 80% of the animals that come to me, I can help to lead a healthy and normal life. And if I can do it, other vets can do it also.
If you understand your dog or your cat's personality and integrate its personality into the diet that you feed your pet, the care that you take of it, even the inoculations that you give it, that can have an effect on the quality of its life and its relationship with you.
It's the spiritual connection that we have, why they're in our existence, why we love them so much. It is so real. And when we deal with animals in our practice, we always deal with them on 3 different levels: mind, body, and spirit. And if you just deal at the physical level, you will lose. You will have to lose. Here is a survey by the Morris Animal Foundation in 1998, and it shows that the top of the list of diseases that cats and dogs are getting is cancer. My first 15 years as a veterinarian, it was always skin conditions, gastrointestinal conditions, bladder conditions. Cancer was always way at the bottom. It was more or less a disease of old animals, and as you can see right now, cause of conditions in dogs, top of the list, cancer. Cause of disease-related deaths in dogs, cancer, 47%. That means almost 1 out of every 2. And also, you can see it in cats. Just as an example, this is a dog that his abdomen is full of lymph cancer, his chest is full of lymph cancer, and you could actually see the cancer process has actually eaten itself out of both cavities. This dog in this picture is 10.5 months old. And as you can see here, private kitten, 13 months, 2 weeks old at death. So there's something wrong in our society if cancer is becoming the #1 disease that we're treating right now as veterinarians.
Let's say that you have a cat, and your cat is susceptible to kidney disease, diabetes, ticks and fleas, feline leukemia, emotional problems, urinary tract infections. How do you deal with these? What are the causes? Can they be prevented? Let's talk with Dr. Michael Dim. Michael, nice to have you with us.
Good to be here, Gary.
Michael, what causes all these conditions in cats?
The three main reasons why we see these problems in cats are, number one, the poor quality commercial foods that most of these animals are getting, mainly the dry kibble. That has to be the number one culprit of many of these illnesses. Second biggest factor is over-vaccinating these animals over generations. Vaccines have been around about 30, 40 years, so we're seeing these diseases related to over-vaccinating them generation after generation, a worsening of these problems that you just mentioned. And the third factor would be just inbreeding, too much overbreeding of some of the pure breed animals.
Let's focus on vaccines. Which vaccines do you believe are overused or possibly shouldn't be used at all?
The only vaccine that is really medically necessary in the cat would be what's called feline panleukopenia, or feline parvovirus as it's known. That is the only vaccine that has been shown to actually maybe work in these cats and to stimulate lifelong immunity. And a series of 1 or 2 vaccines at 3 to 4 months of age probably is enough immunity for the lifetime of that animal. The unfortunate thing is that they're combined with other respiratory viruses that actually not only don't work, but sometimes actually lead to chronic respiratory disease themselves by injecting these modified live viral diseases into the animal. And so panleukopenia and rabies as required by law are the only 2 vaccines.
Which are the vaccines that you then would suggest people challenge?
The feline leukemia virus vaccine has not been not only tested for safety and efficacy, but it's actually been shown that cats over 1 year of age are able to actually resist the feline leukemia virus all on their own. So in essence, I would not vaccinate any cat over the age of 1 for feline leukemia virus. The other vaccines that are out there are, for example, there's one called feline infectious peritonitis virus, or FIP virus. Cornell University did some studies that actually showed that the cats that were vaccinated for that virus were actually more prone to the actual field virus, so you want to avoid that one. There's a new one coming out for Giardia, the intestinal parasite. You want to avoid that one. The problems with most of these vaccines in cats is that they're not tested over chronic periods of time. And that's the main problem, the repetition of these things, the combination of these things, bombarding the immune system year after year after year. And that's what leads to this immune destruction of all of these organs and all these chronic immune diseases we see in our pets.
Right over here I have just a list of the potential side effects of just one of the vaccines given. It's called a parvo vaccine. And the list is immune reactions following canine parvo vaccines. This was compiled by Gene Dodds. Fever, stiffness, sore joints, abdominal tenderness, collapse, clumping of red blood cells, jaundice, general hemorrhages, liver and kidney failure, bone marrow suppression, where the immune system comes from, seizures, bloat, stained teeth, hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism, and then in another list, in another study of dogs and cats after vaccines, immune suppression, autoimmune disease, rheumatoid arthritis, hip dysplasia, food allergies, itchy skins, chronic kidney failure, liver disease.
The flea and tick collars have pesticides in them.
That's right.
Sometimes the cat owner never takes it off.
That's right.
That means the cat is being exposed 24 hours a day, every day of the week, to a pesticide.
Right. And what it does is it confuses the immune system, and the immune system sees these things as foreign. And so you get an overstimulation of the immune system, and then you get a destruction of organs like the pancreas, like the kidneys. And
that leads to the disease and the kidney failure.
That's right.
What are we doing wrong? Why do we have an epidemic of cancer, hip dysplasia, arthritis, diabetes, upper respiratory tract infections, viruses in our dogs? To answer these questions, I've invited one of America's leading holistic veterinarians, Dr. Robert Goldstein, to share his insights. Nice to have you.
Nice to be here, Gary.
What are causing these conditions?
I think there's a number of reasons. One would be genetics, a lot of inbreeding. We mass produce animals for sale. That would be number one. Our diets are totally improper. They're all leftover wastes of the human food industry.
The commercial diets that are prepared now are actually formulated from diseased, rendered, or slaughterhouse remains that are then processed, and we're getting actually rejected meat byproducts in the food, whether it's bone meal that is derived from sick animals, cancer-ridden animals that are actually rejected for the human population, are then taken and prepared as a commercial diet. Now, a lot of these are then processed with high temperatures, and it destroys or denatures the nutrients that you need, that you're actually trying to give your pet. So with the nutrients then already sacrificed by the processing, and you're taking inferior quality nutrients and putting it in there, we find that we have disease that's actually being produced.
Evolution has not found a way to handle all the artificial chemicals going into the body of an animal.
May I interject something
Sure.
here so I don't forget it?
Yeah.
BHT, BHA, ethoxyquin. Remember, BHT, BHA, and ethoxyquin. And if you see that on the label, forget it. Because those are preservatives which actually get to the point where they affect the breeding ability and the genetics and the DNA of the animals so that more problems are created. Remember that. Those three preservatives are deadly, and don't give them to your animals at all. If you happen to see that on the label, just forget about it.
We have environmental pollutants. We have chemical flea collars and chemical flea products, powders, shampoos. All this added together can weaken the animal's immune system. When the immune system gets weakened, that's when cancer and other degenerative diseases can come to the surface.
So it really it's not as if there's cancer and hip dysplasia and arthritis and diabetes and kidney failure as individual and unique entities. It's certain common causes like pollution of their environment, adulteration of their diet, using toxic, dead, diseased, rendered animals to go back into animal feed. This is what's causing all these conditions.
Yes, the common denominator is the immune system. The immune system is being bombarded. They're genetically weakened to begin with. It gets bombarded, it gets weakened, and then a chronic degenerative disease, no matter what the disease is, will then show up.
So it's wherever the animal is most vulnerable is how the disease will manifest.
Yes, that's correct.
The basic problem with conventional medicine is that it sees the symptoms as the disease. Basically, the symptoms are just an expression of an inner imbalance of the body, and actually the body trying to fight off the disease. So when the doctors use the medicines such as antibiotics and steroids and antiemetics and antidiuretics, they're actually working against the body. We're actually not healing the body at all, but suppressing the symptoms and causing worse problems that can show up later on in life.
It might surprise you to realize we have almost 7 million horse owners in the United States. Question is, how long should a horse live? What should they eat? How could we take better care of them? Dr. Judith Shoemaker, what are the primary conditions that horses suffer from?
I think there are 5 basic categories of problems that we see. The most common is chronic repetitive lamenesses and injuries to feet and joints. The second one is muscular injuries, sports injuries, training problems, oftentimes balance problems, TMJ problems that interfere with the horse's performance. The third is probably immune-mediated disease, skin allergies, food allergies, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, moon blindness. The fourth, I would say, would be hormonal dysfunction, emotional disturbances, again, causing training problems, breeding problems, and quite severe problems for the animals and their owners. And the fifth, catastrophic gastrointestinal disturbances, colic, and the diseases of old age, tumors, and other problems that we see in people.
How many of those conditions are preventable?
Most of them are preventable. They're much more easily prevented than they are treated. The chronic lamenesses are most of the time due to imbalance in shoeing, inappropriate management of exercise, and oddly enough, management of the teeth. So the way that the animal is trained, the way that his equipment fits, and how much he's turned out. Those all have incredible importance in management and avoiding chronic lameness. Sports injuries as well are a function of proper management. They are rarely just bad luck.
How is it that ferrets are not living as long as they should live? And what are the conditions that ferrets suffer from that you believe can be prevented?
Well, I think ferrets don't live as long for the same reason that dogs and cats don't live as long as they should, and that is because we feed them processed foods that are cooked and that really are very difficult to digest and also don't have the full spectrum of nutrition that they should. The owners should feed raw food, especially raw meat. And if you can't feed raw, then at least add supplements in terms of digestive enzymes. And that's very important that you also do give bacteria to the intestines, because we tend to give sterilized food when we buy foods from a pet store. And also that you give those, of course, phytonutrients. Now, they can't have phytonutrients in the form of a lot of vegetables and fruits. They love to eat them, they love sweet things, but you want to give those things without all the fiber. They can't have more than about 4% fiber, and so the juicing is a very good idea for ferrets, so that they get all those nutrients without the negative for them, which is the fiber.
What are the primary illnesses that ferrets will suffer from, and why?
Well, the things that I as a veterinarian come across a lot, besides obvious things like ear mites and other parasites, are hormonal imbalances such as adrenal gland tumors, such as insulinomas. That's a little tiny tumor on the pancreas that causes them to seizure. And also an infectious disease called canine distemper. These are the common things that I'll see. But also as an emergency, them being so curious and so willing to try out different things around the house, often have to take out foreign bodies from inside the intestines. So the cause of that is obvious. The cause of the canine distemper is a virus. But you asked also about these other things, the hormonal imbalances. Possible causes of the hormonal imbalances are the fact that ferrets nowadays are neutered so early. They're spayed or castrated at a very young age, only a couple weeks old. And this is by law now.
But that's because their hormones have not fully developed.
Right, and they haven't had a chance to establish the normal rhythms and balances in their body. So we have off-balanced them, I suppose.
Right.
So that's possibly a reason.
You can over-vaccinate them too.
Vaccines probably are a very important cause too. But why do some ferrets that are vaccinated and that have that are neutered early not have these problems? Probably nutrition is a very important part of everything, besides genetics.
Good.
And I think by giving them the proper nutrition, we'll at least remove that as a possible cause and maximize their chances of not having to see the veterinarian other than for routine visits.
I appreciate you being on, sharing these insights. Thank you.
It's a very pleasure.
I've invited Dr. Lori Hess, a veterinarian, to share her insights. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
Do you have any idea how many people own rabbits?
I would say a great number of people. I know in my practice, rabbits are certainly one of the most common species that we see. They make fairly good apartment pets because they're small, they don't require a tremendous amount of space, and they're fairly easy to keep as a small pet in an apartment. So in New York City,
How long do rabbits live?
It really depends on the breed of rabbit, the size. They can live into their teens if kept appropriately, and some do. Unfortunately, many don't because people don't, again, feed them or treat them right.
What are we doing wrong?
Again, diet is a big thing, and environment. We know one of the problems that we see in rabbits quite commonly is that they can get infections in their teeth or abscesses in their jaw, which require surgery to fix. And we're thinking now that sometimes the reason they get this problem is that they're not getting the appropriate diet. They need roughage in their diet, hay. They also get a lot of gastrointestinal problems, a lot of what we call hairballs or gastrointestinal stasis, which just means a slowing down of the gastrointestinal tract. And that's because they're not getting enough fiber. In the wild, rabbits chew on hay all day long, they graze. And many people are not really aware of that, and they don't provide hay to their rabbits. So you need to provide them with hay, some carbohydrate in the form of a rabbit pellet, and then some fresh greens every day also to help their gastrointestinal
There's
tract.
different types of hay. What type of hay?
Generally, we recommend for most rabbits that are adult rabbits, Timothy hay. It's a sort of browner hay than the average green hay that you see in the store, which is usually alfalfa hay. Alfalfa hay is fine in small amounts for growing rabbits, but it really has too much calcium in it for the average adult rabbits. They tend to form bladder stones and kidney stones from these high calcium hays, the alfalfa, so we try to avoid that.
So Timothy hay.
Timothy hay.
Good. What kind of bedding?
Well, we want to give them a bedding that they're not going to chew and have it get stuck inside. And we know things that are safe are paper towels. Everybody has paper towels in their home. It's cheap. It's totally digestible.
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Seth, what are some of the most common problems and conditions that fish owners have to deal with?
The most common problem initially would be ick, an outbreak of white spots all over the fish. The other conditions are new tank syndrome for new hobbyists. We are setting up a tank and they don't let the tank properly mature, the filter properly mature. And I mean mature is that the bacteria must build up on the filter and then into the tank to help break down the waste of fish. So they had a lot of fish at once. They're not too patient. They want to see a lot of pretty fish swimming around the tank, and therefore they have problems.
Tap water needs to be conditioned all the time before you put it in your aquarium. There's liquid dechlorinators that you can get from a pet store. By adding it to the water, your tap water, it neutralizes the chlorine and thus makes it safe for your fish. Make sure that once a month you do a partial water change, 30% at the most, vacuuming out your gravel. By doing a 100% water change, you're eliminating a lot of the good bacteria that is actually stabilizing your environment.
There's a lot of alternatives to the real toxic flea products that have just come out now. Basically, we worry about the environment, we worry about the yard, and we worry about the fleas and ticks on the animal. The most important thing is that you want to build up the health of the animal. A healthy animal definitely attracts less fleas and ticks. And you'll see this in households where they have 6 or 7 animals. 1 or 2 of them will be loaded and the other ones won't have anything. One simple thing you could do is make a lemon rinse. You take a couple of lemons, you cut it up, pour boiling water over it, let it steep, then let it cool, then you could sponge this on the animals or spray it on. One good essential oil that you could use on the dogs is you take a few drops of eucalyptus oil or pennyroyal, and you can add that to a little bit of water and spritz it on the dog, or you can add it to some cockatiel soap or some natural soap and give a shampoo, leave it on for 5 minutes, and that will help to reduce the fleas and ticks that will attach to the animal. One important thing that I do for fleas, flea combing, mechanically removing the fleas. Fleas really spend about 20% of the time on the animal, and if you flea comb them every night, you are going to physically remove it and they will not be a problem. Then what you want to do is to put them in some hot soapy water and let them drown, or use some flea spray or something to kill them, but you basically can flea comb them and remove the fleas. In terms of the bedding, you could use some black walnut leaves in there or some cedar shavings, and basically that is a deterrent to the fleas. They're not happy in that environment. Something else you can do in the house are the boron products. You can buy them over the counter or through catalogs with flea busters or even 20 mule team borax. You can buy that from your supermarket. What you do with that is that you sprinkle it around your floors and your furniture and on your carpeting, and you want to broom that or rub that into all the areas, let it sit overnight, and vacuum it up the next morning. That is 100% effective in getting rid of any fleas in your house. Another excellent product are actually microscopic worms or nematodes. They eat flea larvae. You have to get that through a catalog or some kind of pet supplier, and there are directions that come with this. You want to sprinkle it around your yard, and they actually ingest the flea larvae. And you can do this once every 5 or 7 years. Once you get them going and eating the flea larvae, they'll multiply year after year, and you don't have to do anything more.
Michael, what can we do if you have a cat that is sick to get it well? What are the therapies that make a difference?
Well, the first thing is that I would stop all unnecessary drug or toxic exposure, meaning no more application of any flea products, even though your veterinarian may say that they're very, very safe. Second thing I would do is do the homemade raw meat-based diets. Third thing I would do is add some antioxidants, bioflavonoids, to the cat's diet. Vitamin C, lycopene, proanthocyanidins, the essential oils, fish oils, flaxseed oil. All of these not only enhance the immune system function, but actually can help the animal fight off cancer.
N-acetylcysteine, quercetin,
right.
selenium,
right.
Vitamin E.
Vitamin E, vitamin A. And like I said, I especially in my practice stress the proanthocyanidins.
Green tea.
Green tea is wonderful.
Mushroom complex.
Mushrooms, yeah. All of these things are general support measures for cancer. You can also use certain cancer-fighting and immune-boosting herbs, things like ginseng and ginkgo, and other herbs, dandelion, wonderful for the cat's immune system, wonderful to help get rid of the toxic buildup, not only having cancer, but having also all these toxins building up in their system.
By the way, in nature, if a cat's really sick, you'll frequently see it fasting and eating grasses.
Right, right.
The green bitters.
That's terrific.
Isn't it interesting that instinctually they know that bitters are good as purgatives?
It's amazing, it really is. And I get the question all the time from my clients, why are they eating grass? Why are they eating my plants? Well, they're not getting the chlorophyll from the processed commercial foods. Fasting them periodically, very important for the cat. Cats should not have, food to nibble at. Even the homemade diets, don't leave it down for them to nibble throughout the whole day. Feed them once a day. And then you should fast them 1 day a week where they get nothing but fresh liquid, and make sure that the water is spring, distilled, or pure water, because we all know how intoxicated our water supply is with all sorts of parasites and chlorine and fluorine and giardia, those type of things.
A person comes in with a cat that has cancer or diabetes, you're going to use homeopathy. What have you seen homeopathy being able to help?
The main cancers that I've been able to help have been cancers involving the lymph system, lymphoma. That's one of the most common cancers we see, and again, a cancer of the immune system. And often when I make dietary changes and do sequential homeopathic remedy prescribing, we're able to enhance the quality of the life of these animals much more than chemotherapy can. We're able to help cancers of aggressive malignant cancers like fibrosarcomas, which are cancers that have been linked with vaccinations, particularly the leukemia vaccine and actually the rabies vaccine as well.
Fortunately, there are homeopathic remedies that can help get rid of the side effects of the vaccinations. For the rabies vaccine, there are certain remedies such as lachesis, stramonium, lysin, belladonna, hyoscyamus, plus a number of others. For the distemper and parvo vaccine, oftentimes thuya or sulfur or silicea can be useful. There are, however, many more, and they should be used under the guidance of a holistic veterinarian.
I wanted to ask questions that you would have to a person who has had probably more experience as a certainly holistic veterinarian than any other vet in the country. Dr. Arthur Young. In fact, he's been practicing homeopathy longer than anyone else, I believe. Isn't that right?
Well, not longer, but I've been practicing for 48 years, and I've been doing homeopathy for the last 6 and holistic for the last 10.
Good. Let's talk about homeopathy. Homeopathy has been very beneficial for many humans. How can homeopathy help your pet?
I have found, as I have become a homeopathic devotee in the last half a dozen years, that it's the one thing that really has allowed me to help animals who have had years of drugs and drugs and drugs, and of course, you know, drugs have side effects. They do, and animals don't always feel well. The owners think they might feel well, but they don't necessarily have that great feeling of aliveness about them because they're on drugs all the time. Homeopathy allows the body to stimulate its own immune response, its own ability to heal itself in order for the animal to exist in a state that doesn't require medicine all the time. Some of these animals are condemned to a life of taking pills all the time. Homeopathy gives them the opportunity to get away from that, an opportunity to establish wellness and to get to the bottom of their problems rather than suppress them. Homeopathy, to me, is not the answer to the world's prayers. It doesn't cure everything. It isn't used for everything. But when it does the trick, particularly in chronic disease, the animals that never get better, the allergies, the bowel problems, the thyroid problems, that's where homeopathy plays an enormous role. And the byword, the standby word in homeopathy is wait, W-A-I-T. It takes time, because animals that come to us that have skin diseases very often will take several years to get better. Even if they don't get better and we give them a greater quality of life, that in itself is worth everything. Yes. I love homeopathy, I must say, and I'm going to be able to go to the other side after my 48 years of professional practice with a smile on my face, because of the ability of the things that I've been able to create because of homeopathic medicine that I couldn't do otherwise.
And also, I have found with animals, older animals in particular, I give them enzymes, proteolytic enzymes, digestive enzymes, because sometimes animals have eaten so poorly and have had so many medications that when you give them enzymes, it assists their own body and liver and pancreas in helping to break down and digest the food so they get better assimilation. And fiber too. A lot of people don't realize dogs and cats need fiber also.
Absolutely. And you know, there are 1,300 enzyme systems in the body, and they make the body work. And when the enzymes aren't working, the body's not working. And the one thing I think is important for people to realize, that the body is not compartmentalized. The body reacts as a unit. When you have an illness, when an animal, your pet, has an illness, every single cell in that body, which has its own microchip, so to speak, its biological microchip, is reacting, is responding. Remember, every cell in your body is a micro-you. And as a result, when you're ill, everything is affected, and that's why treating symptoms alone is fallacious, because symptoms are merely the language of disease.
It's a healing crisis.
That's right. Symptoms are not the disease. But what we do today in our modern medicine, too much I think, is we suppress the symptoms. We kill the messenger, shoot the messenger, which is trying to say, hey, there's something wrong here. There's a lack of balance in the body, and I'm responding and trying to make us well again. Voila, symptoms. Boom, antibiotics, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The symptom goes away, and everybody's happy, but the cause is still there.
In conventional medicine, oftentimes we are giving medication to alleviate pain, rather than finding the source of the pain or the cause of the imbalance that causes chronic stress injuries. And the alternative or complementary therapies, including chiropractic, acupuncture, electromagnetic therapy, laser, carefully managed exercise protocols, and also addressing training issues with trainers and riders can make a huge difference in eliminating these problems rather than just managing these problems until the animal falls apart.
How much activity does a horse need? How much space do they need?
The best opportunity for horses to be out 24/7. That would be wonderful. But if they can't do that, they should be out at least 4 to 5 hours a day outside in a paddock where, if they can actually run and not have to stop suddenly. A safe place with good footing where they can run and breathe hard enough to oxygenate well. Most of the time it takes about 2-3 acres for a horse to get up a full head of steam in a gallop and be able to turn easily and do that. But it would be nice if they could all have that.
How long should a horse or a pony be able to live?
Horses live 20 to 25 years in the wild and don't have terribly many problems after they become adults. Our animals oftentimes in domestication don't live that long. Many of them are humanely destroyed because of lameness problems or illnesses and don't often live 20 to 25. It's a disturbing thing. Well kept, however, I have animals in my practice that are over 30 years old that are working, doing their job as riding horses and are fine athletes and quite robust. And in fact, I've had a horse live to over 40, two actually in my practice, over 40. So well managed, they can live quite a long time. Genetically, they've got the ability to do that. It's just a matter of how well we manage them.
Where is the horse most vulnerable to injury?
Most of the time, the subtle injuries, things that happen when animals pull back on lead shanks or when they're handled roughly, or when they bump into the back of their stall wall when they're frightened, or when they're being medicated or handled, or something happens in the way of an accident. These are the most difficult injuries to deal with. They create the imbalances that result in lameness and physiologic problems later on.
Dr. Robert Goldstein, how do you go about helping these animals, no matter what the condition?
Well, the first thing to do would be to improve their diet. I mean, there are a number of homemade type of diets, raw type of food diets, adding fresh chopped vegetables, whole grains, unpolluted meats to their diet. That's certainly the first step. That's an easy step, and it's an easy step for a person to do at home. Mm-hmm. In addition to that, if they have a specific condition, there are specific remedies that can be added to the dietary program, which could either stimulate the immune system or address a specific type of disease.
Let's just take one example. We can't go through all of them, but one. Hip dysplasia.
Right. Well, hip dysplasia is genetic to begin with, so the animal comes in with the weakened hips and a ball and socket that doesn't work to begin with. Then it becomes inflamed on top of that because the animal's beginning to degenerate. So there are things like glucosamine and chondroitin that can stop the inflammation. There are the antioxidant vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E. These are all antioxidants, can help to reduce the inflammation. There are anti-inflammatories like superoxide dismutase, very, very good about reducing inflammation in the hips. So the end result of adding these things plus a good, healthy living type of diet can really, really bring this animal around, start the healing process.
So let's just summarize. The dogs are getting sick because they're eating a highly processed, adulterated diet that is lowering their immune system. They're over-vaccinated. They have too many toxic flea collars and pesticides around them. They're breathing in. When you have a lowered immune system, then it's just a matter of chance of where they're most vulnerable. It could manifest as a cancer or arthritis or diabetes or kidney disease or skin allergies. The way you help all these conditions is first you change it to a completely healthy organic diet, rich in the omega-3 fatty acids, the omega-6 fatty acids like salmon, raw fish, raw chicken, raw meat, eggs, raw dairy. Then the fresh juices, your vegetable juices, celery juice, cucumber, ginger, garlic, and fruits, watermelon juice with raspberries, strawberries, cranberries, cherries, all very good. Antioxidants, vitamin C, E, A, D, K, all of your primary vitamins, plus calcium, magnesium, zinc, selenium, and the very important antioxidants, green tea, very important, N-acetylcysteine, glutathione, superoxide dismutase, and the bioflavonoid complex. That, plus good, fresh, clean water, will make a big difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Arthritis is a very common problem in dogs these days. There are many things that you can do to obviate the symptoms of arthritis without resorting to the steroidal and non-steroidal drugs that you would get from your regular veterinarian. You can use some good antioxidants, and by that I mean simply vitamin C, which is given in 10 milligrams per pound, or vitamin E, which is 10 units per pound twice a day. You can use coenzyme Q10 or pycnogenol. Pycnogenol is given at 1 milligram per pound, and coenzyme Q10 is 10 milligrams per 15 pounds. Other things that you can do with the glucosamines and chondroitin sulfates. This is becoming very popular these days, and it does work quite well with some arthritis. Another very good herb that's used is devil's claw. It works very well for arthritis. Another good medicine for arthritis is tincture of ruta. You can give your dog 5 drops twice a day, and you should see relief really within 24 to 48 hours. Another very good thing that I use for the animals is castor oil packs. Basically, this is a very old treatment that they use with people for many conditions, and I find it quite successful with dogs with arthritis. Basically, what you do is you take a piece of wool flannel. I put it in an aluminum pie pan or something like that. I saturate it with castor oil, and I pop it in the oven for about a minute on very low, so I make it nice and warm. I wrap it around the joints, put a little saran wrap or a little plastic around that with a heating pad. And you want to put the heating pad on low and keep it in contact with the dog for about an hour once a day or as needed. I have a combination of a vitamin C and pantothenic acid pill that I've used quite successfully on dogs. Usually within about a month you'll see 50% improvement with a lot of dogs. Clients are quite happy with this, and oftentimes we keep this on for the lifetime of the animal. If these treatments are not enough, you should contact your holistic veterinarian because acupuncture and homeopathy really work wonders for arthritis. It's really not a very difficult condition to resolve naturally.
This is Kalu, my own dog, and Kalu's the reason I got into alternative medicine in the first place, because before I started doing alternative medicine, Kalu had been on steroids every single day for about 4 years for skin disease. So I looked for other options. And some of those other options I discovered were acupuncture, homeopathy, changes in diet, antioxidants. And with this protocol, I was able to get Kalu off steroids and lead a relatively normal life. So we're going to give Kalu a little acupuncture today for both his skin condition and his hips, because he is an older dog. And as I do the acupuncture, I do a physical examination feeling the major acupuncture points. And if I feel a deficiency in a certain point, I know we need to tonify it. So a big part of the acupuncture is the use of the hands while doing it. You felt that one, right? That's because that point hurt. Yeah. But it's going to feel better once the needle's in there for a little while. There you go, Kalu. That's a boy. There you go. You know, acupuncture is a 3,000-year-old system of medicine that's worked for almost everything. Skin disease, arthritis, metabolic disorders, personality disorders. And if we can just make that paradigm shift and stop thinking drugs, 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 and start thinking about rebalancing the body and accept that acupuncture can do so much more, then we can really make our pets a lot healthier without any side effects. And a case like this just proves, especially to somebody like me who was trained in Western medicine, that acupuncture, homeopathy, alternative medicine works. And here's the living proof. Here's a dog with fur. This dog did not have fur, notwithstanding the best in Western medicine. I've seen the best dermatologist here in the biggest city in the country, and they couldn't help my dog, and acupuncture, homeopathy, alternative medicine made the difference.
Now I'm going to show you foods that are good for dogs and cats, and you'll have to adjust the serving size based upon the type and size of the dog that you have. Now, this is a miniature long-haired Dachshund. This is the biggest she gets. She only weighs a little bit. Huh? You hungry? And the more variety you give your pet, the better it's going to be for the pet. We like to think of convenience when feeding our pets, but that's not good for the pet, especially if you just put some canned dog food or cat food or dried dog food or cat food and occasionally give them something fresh. What you're going to do is shorten their life probably by about half of what it should be. But what do we feed them? All right, let me just show you now. Of all the foods I'm going to show you here, this is the magic, okay? I take fresh greens, and it differs whatever's in season. I may take kale and cabbage and cucumber and celery and parsley and broccoli and carrots, and I juice it. Then I put in a little bit of rice protein powder and some flaxseed and banana and some blueberries and raspberries, because that's what was available this morning, all organic. I don't want anything that would go in my dog's body I wouldn't want in mine. Pesticides are endocrine disruptors. Pesticides can adversely affect the hormones of your body and your pets. Yes, you're getting your vitamin C and your essential fatty acids and complete protein and over 500 different phytochemicals. So every single day, the missing ingredient is chlorophyll. That cleanses and detoxifies their body. I also have some lemon and lime in there. That helps with parasites. Now, if you did nothing more than every day give 400 units of vitamin E, to give about 300 units of oil of primrose, the essential fatty acid, and to give approximately 500 to 1,000 milligrams of Norwegian salmon oil. So good for their hearts, their arteries, their skin. You would probably add 3 to 4 years onto your pet's life. So you take it this way. I get a spoon. First, I open up the vitamin E, because vitamin E helps prevent stroke in your animal, helps protect their heart. That's my vitamin E. Then I give them oil of primrose. Then I take the salmon oil. The key to getting them to drink it is the salmon oil, because it tastes like fish. Now, you talk about a no-hassle way of making sure your pet gets the vitamins it needs to protect its heart, to protect from cancer. Look at this. Yes. So good. Going to live a long life, aren't you, huh? Have healthy skin and teeth. Make sure you brush your teeth after every meal of your dog and cat. Get one of those little thumb things. Yes, all gone. Now, this dish contains grains like barley grains and brown rice and lentils, green lentils, and shiitake mushroom. Chickpeas, also good. And this is wild rice with herbs in it, and olives. Olives are healing. Olives have good fats. Olives have complete protein. So I feed them this so they get the whole grains. This also gives them good fiber, cleanses the intestine, gets rid of bad bacteria. I make a salad for them each day. Dogs and cats love to chew, so they love sunflower sprouts. And you add some olive oil to it, and I give some carrots. Carrots have all the carotenoids in it, helps protect their skin, immune system. So peas, carrots, a nice seasoning over it, like olive oil or flaxseed oil. And yes, I give flaxseed oil every day, and I pour it right on here. 1/4 teaspoon of flaxseed oil per pet. Now, let's say I want to make a bowl of food for them. Let me just show you how I'd make a bowl of food. All right, so I start off by taking some organic hormone-free cheese, what's called raw cheese. All right. Then I take an egg, and I give them, per dog, 1 egg. Now, I give them just the yolk. Then I bring down, something they really like. I'll give them fresh fish, like salmon that's rich in the oils that protect their skin, protect their heart, prevent cancer, give them energy. Chicken. And again, all this is raw, not heated, not cooked, because you want the enzymes. Cut off as much of the fat as possible. You do not want that fat going into the animal system. It will clog their arteries as it will yours. If your animal's not used to eating fresh, raw, organic meat, you may have to saute just a little bit of garlic and put a little bit of garlic in it with it, and then they'll eat because they like the flavor of the garlic. You might even put a little bit of desiccated liver into it. So now I've got some meat and raw, organic, hormone-free cheese. That's giving them calcium, it's giving them phosphorus, it's giving them their B vitamins, high-quality protein. Now, we'll put this down here and watch them go to it. And what's nice is these dogs will not eat until they're gorged. They'll eat until they're comfortably full, and then they leave it. And then I put the bowl up. I do not let them. Again, never let your dog eat all day. It's just going to get fat.
We have tens of millions of cat owners who are concerned about, what do I feed my cat? First, let's discuss the difference between a cat and a dog.
Cats are, first of all, obligate carnivores. 50% of a cat's diet should be protein. Dogs, somewhere down around 30–35%.
What kind of proteins are best for the cat?
The best kind of proteins for cats are fresh raw meat, lean turkey, and also lamb. Cats can also handle dairy products. Cats can certainly digest raw eggs, as well as even cottage cheese.
Good. How about some variety adding some fresh fish in?
Fresh fish is wonderful. The benefit of the fresh meats is that it exercises their jaws and teeth. And one of the things that we see in cats is severe gingivitis and gum disease and periodontal disease.
80% of dogs and cats have dental disease by 3 years old. That's according to the American Veterinary Medical Dental Association. Dogs and cats in the wild never have dental disease like that. And it's because we don't allow them to chew naturally, to chew bones. Tartar on the teeth winds up creating showers of bacteria in the bloodstream that make the bloodstream toxic, and it winds up clogging up the valves in the heart. It clogs up the kidneys, so it's a constant source of infection for the immune system to have to fight. And so every cat should be eating bones. Chicken necks are short bones that can't splinter into the longer pieces that tend to be more dangerous. If you can't find chicken necks, use chicken wings and chop them in half so that the pieces are short. When chicken bones are raw, they don't tend to splinter at all. They tend to crumble. And of course, the meat should be left on as well because that's excellent nutrition too.
Because we know what severe ramifications dental disease can cause in a pet, it's extremely important that pet owners know how to look at their cat's or their dog's teeth. And it's even more important to brush the teeth for them because they can't brush by themselves. Now, brushing your cat's teeth might seem like an impossible task, but it's really not. It can be done in almost all cases except for those cats who are really a little aggressive. The way you do it is by using a finger brush. Now, this is a little toothbrush that fits over your finger. It's gentle, it's soft, and most cats don't mind it at all. What you have to do is set up a nice romantic environment. Turn the lights down low, maybe some soft music, aromatherapy if you like. Have your cat on your lap. Gently, gently, just brush your cat, the fur, the head, and slowly start rubbing the gums on the side. You want to make this into a pleasurable experience for your cat, not something he has to suffer through. And as you can see here, this cat loves it. I'm just massaging these gums and the cat loves it. Now that's the first step. The next time you do it, you want to put a little toothpaste on there. Take a little seafood flavored toothpaste, put it on your finger. Yummy. Here's the toothpaste on my finger. Lift up the lip, put it on and rub with your finger this time. Yeah, you like that? Mm-hmm. This is a real treat for a lot of cats. Yeah. Time after that, you want to put the finger brush on and brush with the finger brush and the toothpaste. That's the seafood flavored toothpaste. Yeah, you like that? This cat's having a great time. You like that, Spanky? Yeah. All right. That's how you brush your cat's teeth.
The most important thing to understand about cats is that they actually recycle the water from their food to keep themselves hydrated, so that when they're eating dry food, which is an abomination for cats, they actually become dehydrated. At least 30% of kidney failure cases are actually malnutrition. They're just cats that are on dry food. I often recommend dandelion. Dandelion is a wonderful diuretic. It's great for the liver. It's great for a lot of things. And you'd use 1/4 of the human adult dose for kitties and dogs under 20 pounds. The other thing is that cats as carnivores actually should be eating only once a day. Carnivores are meant to catch prey, kill it, and then gorge before the neighbor comes and steals it. So if they're eating all the time, it doesn't give their body a chance to rest. Dogs and cats as carnivores are natural fasters. They're meant to fast daily in between their meals.
So about 50% of the diet should be meat, and the other 50% could be made from fresh grains. Now, unlike the meat, the grains need to be cooked with cats. The other part of the diet that I like to add are, of course, fresh vegetables. And cats, if you take everything and actually put it in a food processor or a blender, then cats can't actually pick out the meat, pick out the grain, and they'll actually get all of the benefits of all of those nutrients. And that could form the basis of your cat's diet.
For years, veterinarians have suggested feeding ferrets cat food, but the requirements are not the same as cats, so don't do that. This is what I feed my ferrets. We start with some liver, chicken with the skin left on because there are nutrients in that skin. Salmon, which is the best fish along with sardines you can give your ferret. Eggs. The egg yolk is exceptionally good for your ferret. People don't think that ferrets should have fruit. Wrong. We want grapes, no, not white grapes, blue grapes, black grapes, red grapes. Apples, red apples are particularly good. And some things that can really help, like flaxseed and the flaxseed oil that's in here. You can use some raisins and nuts and seeds. Now, you also want cucumbers. Garlic is very important. Right here is yeast. Yeast has complete protein, live microorganisms that can help rebalance the probiotic activity within the intestines. Or you can give them 20 drops of cod liver oil down the throat. For skin and coat and perfect food for supplements, there are liquid vitamins for your ferret. Of all the nutrients you must make sure that your ferret gets, linoleic acid is very important. There's linolenic acid and linoleic acid. Both are important. These are very essential fatty acids. Make sure that they get them every day.